Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. It means it's time for another live stream. Today is Friday, December 16th. Is it? Yeah, the 16th, 2022. It is for, I think, a lot of people. If you got kids, it's the last week. It's the last day of school that you guys have before the winter break. That's what the case is for us. So it just feels like Christmas is like upon us, even though there's still, 9 days till Christmas. But it's going to be a long winter break for these kids this year. I don't know. I just feel like ever since the pandemic, when all the kids back in school, seems like there's just a lot more days that kids are not in school anymore. I don't know. I don't know if that's the same way it is for you guys, but that's how it is. It seems both here and I think also back where we were in Chicago at CPS too. So maybe it's just the way that the day falls on the calendar. But yeah, I'm like in Christmas break mode mentally, although I got like so much work I got to do before the end of the year and before we head over to Grandma and Grandpa's house, which we still don't know what day that's going to be. But we'll figure that out pretty soon. Let's take a moment here to say hi to everyone listening on the podcast, on the audio-only version. Hopefully you're having a good run out there today. It is snowing here in Crystal Lake, and it's a bit windy and a little bit nasty. It's not the prettiest snow, but it is snow, and it's a lot of fun. I was out there for a little bit today and had a good time. I actually ran... Remember those shoes I showed you guys yesterday? Those Mafate Origins? I ran in those today. I'll tell you guys more about it in a little bit. But let's also say hi to everyone that's watching on YouTube later after the fact, but not live. Welcome to you guys as well. I'm glad to have you here. Hopefully you had a good run as well. And maybe you came in from a run and maybe you're lucky enough to have either a boot dryer or preferably a fire to warm up next to afterwards. That's the one thing I don't have in this house. We've got a fire pit for the backyard, but we don't have a fireplace, and I would really love to have a fireplace, but we don't have one. Maybe we'll get one like built into our house at some other point, but if I know me and my wife, probably never. So if you got a fireplace, you're lucky. Invite me over. Let's hang out. Anyway, all right, let's see who we got in the chat here today. We got Lucas H says, hello, my running friends. And Lucas H says, the Takumi Sen 8 for $90 seems like a great deal, but doo-doo, hashtag boycott Adidas for Kofuzi. I won't buy it. Dude, he says, just JK. Go get it for $90 if you're looking for the Takumi Sen 8. I haven't run in the Takumi Sen 9, but I don't think it's a huge update, because you could always just buy if you need a pair of Takumi Sens, buy the 8 at $90 now, get the Takumi Sen 9 later, you use them in the summer next year. So hopefully they'll be on discount then. I don't think they're going to be substantially different shoes this year. So I'm still excited about it. But I then this morning, I went and picked up version 8. Remember yesterday I was talking about how much lighter it seemed? The version 8 also seemed unbelievably light. So I'm like, oh, do I even care about this Takumi Sen 9 anymore? If it's not lighter, what's the big difference? We'll have to see if they tune those energy rods. All right. Martha's here says, everyone who was here 2 days ago when we were joking about shoe names, check out the comments and believe in the runs review on the Hyperion Max. Not a Max shoe, that was designer's name. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, they had some fun with that Hyperion Max. Everyone likes to take a little jab at Brooks. Sometimes they kind of deserve it. They bring it on them. Not they deserve it, but they kind of bring it on themselves. But I feel like the shoe name that people are going to give the most problem next year, I think the shoe name that deserves the most lampooning next year will be the Kinvara Pro. Or basically everything that comes from Saucony. Not everything, but all like the weird shoes that come from Saucony, they're going to have bonkers names. They're going to use, next year Saucony is going to use Pro for the Kinvara Pro, which is supposed to be a daily trainer. And they're going to use the word elite in a shoe that's going to be, I think, illegal to use. I don't think that's a legal shoe. I'm not sure. So like elite for a shoe that elites can't wear. So like, I don't know. Then they will have another shoe called Pro, the Endorphin Pro, which will be for pros and racing and not for daily training, even though the Kinvara Pro is for daily training and not racing. So I think Saucony is going to take the award next year. New Balance will be a close second because they're going to keep using the words like Super Comp and everything and SC and everything, even though I don't know. I'm not sure how they're going to be using it all the time. Sometimes they use SC, sometimes they use Super Comp. It's going to be super confusing. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun next year. Well, it keeps me in, I guess it keeps me in business, right? Confusing things in the shoe industry is good news for shoe reviewers, I guess. I don't know. Frank wants to know, did they ever do a Meta Racer 2? Did Asics give up on the 5K race shoes? I'm going to say, you know, I don't know if I can tell you this information. It's stuff, I talked to Ed Goddard about it. So to answer the second question, I don't think so. I don't really know. Ed was really vague on it. He's like, if you can come out tomorrow, like on Monday, he was like, if you can come out tomorrow on Monday, I could show them to you. And I was like, I got to go out to the suburbs and do that wear testers thing. He's like, oh, okay, mate. And I was like, all right. Yeah, I wanted to see what they were. But no one from Asics has told me about those shoes yet. And, but anyway, the Meta Racer 2, I really like the Meta Racer. Did I tell you guys the story? I saw a woman running in Meta Racers, at Falmouth, and I think she had headphones in, but because like I ended up like pulling up next to her. It was my like maybe 6, right? So we were all working, and I'm like, oh, Meta Racers, great choice. What a great choice of shoe. And she didn't like respond or anything. So I was just like, hey, great shoes. And she was just like, what? And then she pulled away because I think she thought I was being creepy, which I guess if you were in headphones in and I just like rolled up on you and were like that, maybe that is creepy. I don't know. But there was never a Meta Racer 2, which I found really surprising because just based solely on the fact that Ailish McColgan likes him so much. Like she was always doing workouts in them, you know. So I found that was really weird that they did that. Someone had a question. Oh, yeah. Will Willing wants to know, could you compare the SE Comp Trainer versus the Glide Ride 3? So it's like, it's not the SC Trainer. It's actually called the Super Comp Trainer. So with New Balance, like Super Comp used to be a shoe they had back in the day, I want to say 70s, where they basically were like, let's take all our latest technology and put it in a single shoe, like a Homer Simpson car. And that's what they did. And it actually ended up working. Lots of people really liked it. And so they wanted to revive that concept and also the name. And so that's why we have like I think it's SC Pacer, SC Elite, and then Super Comp Trainer. I'm not sure about the Pacer one, but I know it's not Super Comp Elite, it's SC Elite. Whether they mean to do that, at least in the way they name them on like the website, or they're just using them interchangeably, I'm not sure, but I'm just going to go by what they have on the website. So it's Super Comp Trainer and the Glide Ride 3. Conceptually, they do similar things. I think that Super Comp Trainer does it with a racing foam and a carbon fiber plate, whereas Glide Ride does it with a squishy foam, FF Blast Plus, which is in the Nova Blast 3, and then a slightly less bouncy squishy foam, which is the flight foam that's underneath it. It's just like the firm layer. And then there's also like I forget what they call it. They don't call it plastic, but it's like a hardened EVA, not plate, not shank, but like there's a layer. It's almost kind of like when I touch it, it's like kind of touching like a rubber insole layer in the middle of the shoe that gives it a little bit of extra impact absorption and stability. So like they're set up a little bit differently. So the Super Comp Trainer is more for like really cushioned long runs is how I see it. Some people like to do workouts in it, and I do think it does a decent job of that. But for me, I like it for, like moderate paced long runs. The Glide Ride 3, I like it for really like tired days, easy, slow running. So that's kind of how I split up the two. Hope that makes sense. All right. Let's see. Tommy Runs thinks that the Super Comp is interchangeable. Yeah, but like they don't. I never see them. I've never seen it written out Super Comp Elite 3. You know what I mean? Like they never write it that way. And when I did not to say like I know because I did a shakeout run with them, but like when I wrote like here's what's going to go on in the Kofuzi Run Club event, they were like, hey, can you change the names of these shoes so that it like reads a certain way? So instead of saying like we could test out more V4, Rebel 3, there was like Fuel Cell, Fresh Foam X More version 4, more space V4, no space between the V and the 4, and then like SC Elite 3 is how they fuel cell SC Elite 3. I think is how they wrote it. So I don't know. I don't know that it's interchangeable, but I don't know. I feel like they mean super comp, so kind of, right? But the funny thing is, I asked a similar question to Asics. I was like, sometimes you call it flight foam blast, sometimes you call it FF blast. Is there a difference between flight foam blast and FF blast? And they're like, no, there's just Fs. I was like, okay, great. I think that was just part of the transition from flight foam, which is like they used to have flight foam propel, and then that moved to they're moving away from flight foam, and now it's all FF blast. They're keeping some of the trade name, but moving to a different material. So I don't know. Why not just move to a different name then? I don't know. People always want to have 1 foot in the past, 1 foot forward. I think that's why that happens. Maybe. Matthew Montijo says, is the Prime X Strung worth racing in when there are so many great marathon racing shoes out there? I think that you could probably say that for any shoe. Right. So is the Alpha Fly worth racing in when there are so many great marathon racing shoes out there? Is the Metaspeed Sky Plus, right? I think the correct question is, what's the right marathon racing shoe for you? All of these marathon shoes don't like work for all people equally, right? So like depending on like your gait, your foot strike, like your mechanics, like different shoes will work better for different people. And so some people love the Endorphin Pro 3. A lot of people love that shoe. It's really good this year. A lot of people love the Adios Pro 3. Are the people that are like, that's the best shoe? Are they wrong? That's the best one for them. Are the people that say Endorphin Pro 3 is wrong? No, that's the best shoe for them. So like, how can both people be correct? It's because there's different shoes for different people and different preferences. Right. So like the beautiful thing is there are many different shoes out there that are different. And so that's kind of how I view the variety of carbon plated options that are in the market. Tommy says about Supercomp, I think they were trying to make the RC, the SC to SC, so it's less confusing. That could be it. What's funny is that like they kept calling it the RC Elite 2, RC Elite, and then RC Elite 2. And then they had the Fuel Cell TC, which I really loved. That was one of my favorite shoes from that New Balance ever made. But like TC stood for training and competition, right? So training and racing and training. And then RC was racing and competition. Right? I don't remember what the C stood for. I think it was racing and competition. Or was it TC was training companion and then RC was racing and competition? I don't know. Those were some hoops, man. New Balance has been making us jump a little bit, I think, over the years. Trying to figure all this stuff out. Oh my goodness. That's funny. Adam says, so you think recovery tools are a waste of money? Does that include recovery slides? Adam, did you just watch the interview that I did with Corey? Corey runs had me on, and he's like, what are we wasting as runners, wasting our money on? And I was like, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of money spent on recovery tools that I don't know that we all necessarily need to do that. I'm like, as someone who's tried them all, like I don't really use very many. But I have a little bit more of a nuanced answer in that interview. I do say that like I use a lot of them as needed. I don't use them all like regularly without a specific need. So that's why I don't feel like any of them are like strictly necessary. But I also understand the allure where it's like, well, I can't sleep more. I can't rest another day. So what can I do in lieu of the best option? What are my second best things that I can buy? Just kind of like supplements. Yes, it would be better if I could eat whole, unprocessed, organic foods, right? But I can't always do that. So what's a good supplement I could take instead? So, but while I do take some supplements, not usually, just like a protein shake every once in a while, I do very little recovery stuff, but lately I've been using the massage gun a lot because my knee's been bothering me. And I do use the R8 roller a lot because that one will find areas that I didn't know were sore. The one that like has two sides and you like roll it back and forth over your leg. That one's pretty surprisingly good. It's very expensive though, so I don't know that people need it, but it's a good one. I like it a lot. Recovery slides. I love recovery slides. I don't think that they make you recover faster, but it sure does feel nice. And I feel like that's enough for me to justify, well, maybe not. UFOs are like $80. That's a lot. That's a lot. I don't know how much are the Hoka ones. How much are the Hoka or like the Orca slides? I don't know how much those are. 80's a lot. Is it worth it? I don't know. I have a pair. I love them. I do wear them every day in the house. They're my house slippers. But yeah, are they worth it? I do not think they make recover faster, but they feel great. Martha says, the road trail run guy always literally has one foot in the past and one in the present/future. He tests the old version on one foot with the new on the other. Sam is really nice. I don't know if you've ever met Sam. I really like Sam a lot. He's a really nice guy. Yeah, I've never asked him about that, but I just, hold on, I just know if my computer's not plugged in. But I've seen lots of other people do that where they'll take like two shoes and be like, here's how we're going to do the head to head of like the Alpha Fly versus a Vapor Fly. And I'm like, this isn't going to tell you anything except for that the shoes are different. You know, like how can you even tell if you prefer one or the other? I just think it's a very interesting one. Like put both of them on first and then switch to the other one. You know, that makes a little bit more sense to me. But like one each, I'm just like, that makes for a fun picture. But I don't know how helpful that is. But he does. I don't know. He does that all the time, but sometimes he'll do it. I think. Where'd it go? Matt had something. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know where it went, Matt. Auto VV wants to know, what are your thoughts on the Zoom Fly 5? I found a very good deal on a pair, but I already had too many shoes, so I passed on. I feel like the Zoom Fly 5 is a shoe that has lost its way. It's heavy. I haven't, you know what? I tried the Zoom Fly 3. I don't think I tried the Zoom Fly 4 and I didn't try the Zoom Fly 5. So maybe I'm missing out. Maybe I'm sleeping on it, but like, it's not a shoe that I feel like a lot of people are running in. So, I'm kind of saying like, well, it's not popular in the market, so it must not be that good. Is kind of how I'm interpreting it. But the reason why I stopped reviewing it is because it's a heavy shoe and the React in that shoe is not a great formulation of React foam. And so until they change the foam and like really change it up, I'm not sure what to do with it. It's departing now from what it was originally intended as, a training companion to your Vaporflies. Now I think that Nike would rather just you train in your Vaporfly, do your workout in your Vaporfly, do your racing in your Vaporfly, and if your Vaporfly are shot before race day, buy another pair of Vaporfly. I think that's like the Nike approach. That's what they'd rather have you do. So like they don't really position the Zoom Fly as like training companion, and they've also kind of abandoned the Tempo Next. So they don't really care about having a training companion shoe. And so the Zoom Fly seems to be turning into like a React version of the Invincible. It's about the same silhouette, and like I think people are using it similarly. So I just don't know what to do with the Zoom Fly anymore. I don't think Nike knows what they're doing with the Zoom Fly. That's my take, having not reviewed it in 2 years. So admittedly, I'm very willing to concede that I could be wrong on that, but that's my take on it. Matthew Montijo says, those recovery slides look terrible and they may work, but I just can't do it. Oh man. Well, I mean, if they worked, you wouldn't do it if they worked because they don't look right? I don't know. I mean, like recovery boots, like the ones with like the pneumatic things where like the air moves on it. What are they called? Who has one? Hyperice has it, right? Was it Therabody? Therabody does them. There's a couple of brands that do them. Like those look super goofy. They're noisy. They take up a bunch of space in your house. But they are nice. I actually don't know if those work either. But like, it's like run a workout, take a hot shower, and then like sit and like scroll through Instagram for like 20 minutes while you're in those. That's a nice way to spend an afternoon in my mind. I don't know. Okay, Eric got a question. I missed it the first time. He says, what trail shoe at TRE looked like the hottest drop for 2023? Let's see. What was the best trail shoe that I saw? I didn't look at all the trail shoes. I didn't go to North Face. I think from what I've seen from other people's posts at TRE, I feel like the North Face options look great. I'm excited about the Ultra options because I didn't test any of the Ultra trail shoes this year, I don't think. When did I review the last Lone Peak? I think I did Lone Peak 5, so that was a while ago. But I also am not sure if the shoes that I saw from Ultra are actually the same ones they showed last year, since they're on a 2-year cycle now. I was underwhelmed, absolutely underwhelmed by Craft. And that's disappointing because I like Craft a lot. So I will probably say Tecton X2 looked pretty nice, although they didn't really show that to me. Is that one of those shoes that they were kind of hiding? It might have been. But then again, last year at TRE, I said the Tecton X was my most exciting shoe, and that was one of the trail shoes I found the most underwhelming for 2022. So there's that. Had I seen a Mafate for GTX, that would have been the most exciting shoe. But I've been told that's not coming anytime soon. So if you want a Gore-Tex shoe, get the Speedgo. The Speedgo 5 Gore-Tex is the one that's coming out. So the More Trail version 3, or whatever version that it's on, it's the third More Trail shoe, but it's off of the More version 4. New Balance. I'm going to do some fish shaking. Like what the heck? Anyway, the shoe looks great, and it's like an eco outsole, so I really like that idea. I like the More Trail version. It was the first More Trail. That one, I ran in that one. I ran in the winter in that one. It wasn't even Gore-Tex or waterproof, but it was a good winter shoe. I liked it. I like that big chunky outsole or midsole on at least on the kinds of trails that I run. So More Trail is probably the one that I will enjoy the most, but it's not the most. Is it the most exciting? Maybe it is. I don't know. I did just run in that Mafate Origins today, so you guys know that I like the big chunky shoes on the trail. DazDarren99 says, Speedgo 5 GTX. I'd love that for winter running in the snow. Any idea on release date? I think soon. I think like in the next month or two. I don't think it's 2022. I think it's early 2023. The Challenger Gore-Tex 7.8 Challenger 7.8 TX Gore-Tex. I don't know. Lots of letters. That one is, I think, out now or soon. I think that'll come out first before the Speedgo 5 Gore-Tex. Hope is supposed to be sending me one of those. I don't know about the Challenger. I never Matt Equino's comment was like, I'd hate to be a copy editor for some of these brands. Like whoever writes the copy, I think whoever writes the brief like says what the Challenger is supposed to be. Like that person must be one of the most frustrated people in running. Because what they say the Challenger is, for me historically, has not been what the Challenger is. The way they describe the Challenger, I hear, oh, you're talking about the Torrent. And then they're like, no, we're talking about the Challenger. Like a Clifton for the trails. And I'm like, no, you're talking about the Torrent. And they say, no, the Challenger, ATX, it's all-terrain roads and trails. Really good road manners, really good trail manners as well. A little bit of everything. And has like that Clifton feel. And I'm like, have you guys tried the Challenger? It does not feel like that. It feels like I'm wearing a ski boot. So I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about that. Martha says, my coach wears the Torrent. That's a good shoe. I don't know. Like, I think Hoka's getting to the point where it needs to do some trimming again. Because there's too many shoes in the lineup. Because like remember when like there was like those shoes that were like all kind of like the Clifton, but weren't the Clifton, and they all had like weird names, and they were very similar. And then they got rid of a lot of them, and it was just like, here's what we got: Bondi, Clifton, Rincon, like 3. They had more than 3, but like, because there's like the Arahi and stuff like that. But like, there was all these other ones, and I was like, I don't understand this. Why make a cheap version of something when you're a smaller brand? You know, like, I don't know. I don't get it. I feel like that we're that like in the trail space now, because like we're still doing the Challenger. We've got the Torrent. We've also got Speedgoat, Mafate, Zinal, right? There's a lot of stuff in there. And then there's Stinson. They're still making the Stinson. And then there's which one of those is the stability one? There's a stability trail shoe too, which I don't understand conceptually. So like, I think there's just a lot that overlap a little bit too much, you know. And that's where I think Hoka is at. Aldavina says, hope I didn't miss it. Waiting for some weekend entertainment. CIM. Thanks for all the work you do put into these. Also, question. Well, thank you very much, Al, before I get to that question. He has a question. He says, low drop shoe for downhill races, i.e. like tunnel marathons. I would say the thing is, for tunnel marathon, that race is as a gentle enough down and consistent enough downhill slope that I don't really think that you need to switch up the shoe that you're wearing for that. But let's say you think that like an Adios Pro 3 would be too tall and maybe a little bit unstable, but you still want something carbon and quick. I would look at the Takumi Sen, or I might look at like even like an Endorphin Pro 2, because that's less bouncy than the Pro 3. So those are some of the ones that I would look at in that instance. Like I could even see going for like something like a Zoom Streak, you know, or a Meta Racer. We were talking about the Meta Racer earlier. So like those are shoes that I would look at as well, because those are nice and snappy and fast. But on a softer surface race with a nice gradual downhill, that's something that you could kind of like, the downhill makes up the difference for the shoe that's not necessarily intended for marathons. But I think for most people, you could just run in your regular marathon shoe. Although for tunnel marathons, you start out running on like that gravel parking lot, that part's going to be sketchy, you know? So, I don't know, do they still do it that way? I don't know. Jatter Al wants to know, what's the difference between the Torrent and the Rincon? The difference is the Rincon, the upper is less roomy, so it's a little bit more like cinched down for faster racing. I feel like there's a little bit more volume in the toe box and just in the shoe in general in the Torrent. The Torrent also has a not Vibram outsole and deeper lugs. So I find that it's a little bit more versatile for terrain that's a little bit less sure-footed or like just a little bit sloppier. The Rincon is a like basic. For me, I think of the Rincon for like either a hard pack or hard pack downhill or lots of uphill, even uphill racing that's not slippery, you know? So that's kind of how I think about the Rincon. Yeah, Mark Peterson, he did the tunnel twice in Vaporfly. Worked great. See, I think I did mine in the next percent as well. So Martha said, when I did the tunnel, my first marathon ever, I wore the Brooks Launch 6, which I trained in. That was when I only had one shoe, right before the shoe explosion. There you go. I did see an update to the launch when I was in TRE. I want to say it looks great, but I don't know what the current launch looks like, so it might be the same as the current one. Still looks great, though. Hops Runner says, hey, I'm slow, 13 to 14 minute miles. Am I too slow for race day shoes? I don't think that you're too slow for race day shoes. I think that you would feel a difference. Here's the thing. I think that for some people, and I don't have a hard number for when this cuts over, but there is a certain point where you're like, I'm going to be out there for a long time on my feet. And I don't think that like what you put in or in quotations as race day shoes, I don't think that those carbon plated shoes are always the most comfortable to wear for a very long period of time. That's why I usually put recovery slides in my bag that I pick up after the race. Because like pretty much the moment I'm done with the race, I untie the shoes and want to get out of them. So not that they're necessarily like hurting my feet, but at the end of the race, after I've been running hard, like I want to get out. You know, I'm done. So like if you're going to be, I don't know what 13 to 14 minute miles translates to, but if let's say that's like a 4-hour or 5-hour marathon, at that point, I'm thinking about comfort more than carbon a little bit. And so like I've been talking about like Super Blast a lot. I think that's a really good option. It's also a little bit more stable, which you might appreciate. But also we've been talking about the Super Comp Trainer or Super Comp Trainer, not SC Trainer. Is it? Either one. That one, Super Comp Trainer. That one is really nice and comfortable for a long time, even though that does have a carbon fiber plate. So that's another one that I would look at too. Those would be like my top 2 that I'll have people look at for those. So if you want to have a race day shoe, but also at the same time, if like, you know, you don't want to buy like 4 or 5 shoes, like Martha was just saying, she ran and trained in the launch, and then use that for her race day too. That's also completely acceptable. No one's going to give you a funny look. But if I'm guessing with the question is you're looking and are interested in doing that. And so I think there are options that are out there for you. I also think that an Alpha Fly or a Vaporfly is completely acceptable too. Like you're not going to be the only one. I guarantee you that. And no one's going to give you a second look. But it's just like, is that the best choice? For some people, yes. Some people would be like, I don't know. My arches might hurt if I have to be in that for 4 hours or 5 hours. You know what I'm saying? So Matthew Montillo says, I do the same. Right after a race, I'm in sandals. Yeah. Eric says, for a 6-hour plus marathon, go for comfort. Yeah. So like if I'm like, for me, like when I think about a 6-hour run race, like once, regardless of the distance, I'm thinking like, oh, my feet are going to swell by the end of that. By like mile 4, my feet are going to swell a lot. And I'm going to want something cushioned. So even if it's a race, if it's 6 hours long or longer, I'm definitely thinking about cushion as well. So, yeah. And Martha says, I saw every possible shoe in Boston last year. Even shoes like the Clifton, the Ghost, you name it, it's all there. Yeah. Michelle DeMayo says, I'm slow too. There's a nice little Wonder Woman avatar that's over here. How do I get my finger? There we go. Right there. Looks nice. Linda Phillips says, hi, can you shout me out? I'm your biggest fan. What's going on, Linda Phillips? Thanks for stopping by. I'm glad to have you here. Martha says about the launch. The launch probably didn't change much. The best Brooks trainers of the past were the Pure line. Too bad they discounted those. You know what? If there was a Brooks shoe called the Pure, like a line of shoes called the Pure line, I feel like that's a good idea to discontinue that. That's not a great name for a line of shoes. But if they were good, it is too bad if they discontinued it and couldn't like rename it something else. Martha says, only the Hyperion, formerly known as the Hyperion Tempo, is even better. You know, now I'm trying to think of like, should I hunt out a pair of Aurora BLs? I had a feeling with that shoe that it was not like something that like I really needed to review because like I don't think they're going to make a bunch of these. I don't think these are going to become a thing. I think this is just like a thing they did and they decided they'd sell a bunch of them. Which I think I'm right. I don't think they're doing anything with it. Although, who was Thomas interviewing? I think there was someone on the Believe in the Run podcast. Or was it in one of the Believer in the Run videos? Oh, I think it's when they interviewed that guy at TRE from the Brooks booth. They're like, is there going to be an Aurora BL too? And he was like, maybe. So maybe there will be something else into it. If there's a 2, I'll review it. But I kind of want to try it because I'm like, because every time someone's like, oh, this new DNA Flash is great, but it's no Aurora BL. I'm like, what was the Aurora BL like? And they're like, it was just a really good nitro foam. I'm like, well, there's like many brands that are doing good nitro foams. Like, tell me which one. They're like, it was just really good. I can't tell you. So I'm like, that's very not helpful. So I feel like I missed out and everyone's keeping a secret from me. So I got to figure out what that Aurora BL is all about, I guess. I don't know. Like, do they have them on StockX? Is that available? I don't know. Riggs Rico says, are you getting anything out of a carbon plated shoe at a pace above 8 to 9 minutes a mile other than aiding recovery? I think so. So like, here's my premise. Maybe at like really far ends of the bell curve, like people aren't getting that much. So if you're like super fast or super slow, however you want to phrase that, those terms, maybe like the relative increase in carbon is minuscule on both ends of the spectrum. But like, I feel like in the middle, a lot of people benefit from having carbon in the shoe, and not because the carbon, like, I still think that carbon gives you some level of like springy snappiness. Some people have been telling me from brands that like carbon does more to stabilize the foam and let the foam do what it does better. You're not really feeling the carbon, but I feel like that's all just a matter of like semantics. I like having carbon in the shoe, regardless of whether I'm feeling the carbon or the carbon makes the foam better. I don't know. But I think that these shoes work at effort. So like, if you like, there's a reason why, for example, like I'm getting very circumspect about this, but like, think about like, they say like, you know, a really great cadence, for example, to have is like 180. There's like a magic to the 180 cadence. Whether someone should strive to have a 180 cadence is another thing. But like, there's something that's uniform about that. And whether you're an amateur or whether you're a pro, there's something very efficient about the human form at 180 steps per minute, regardless of your pace, right? And so there's something about that effort level that is doing something that works for each person's body. And I think that like relative effort is what the shoe kind of like helps. Not that the shoe has any desire to do that, but I feel like it's relevant at efforts. And that's why when I review shoes, I'm like, I like this at marathon effort, I like this at threshold effort, or I like this at 5K effort. I don't really often talk about the paces unless it's a workout video. But when it's a shoe review video, I don't usually say like, this was good at my recovery pace of 10 minutes a mile. And this was really good at my marathon pace of 650 a mile. Because some people have their easy pace, like pros, easy pace will be 7 minutes a mile. Does that mean that they don't feel a benefit of a carbon plated shoe when they're running like a minute per mile faster than me or 2 minutes per mile faster than me? No, they do feel a benefit of that carbon. And it's not have anything to do with the pace. It's like the effort, you know? Does that make sense at all? So I feel like the effort is what's important. And if you're an 8 or 9 minute per mile marathoner, I think that you benefit from carbon if that's your marathon effort. You know what I mean? Kit says, hi, Coat. Have you tried the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite? It's finally on the Puma website for the US. I heard their blade is super aggressive. I have not tried it, and I don't think it's a marathoner shoe. I've seen some of their marathoners running it. I think was it Annie Frisbee? I don't know. Did she race a marathon in them or a half marathon? I think of it as more of like their 10K, 5K, 10K running shoe, maybe a half marathon shoe. I don't think it's their marathon shoe because like, I think I've seen Rory Linkletter running them, but I don't think I've seen him race a marathon in them. He's running in the Deviant Nitro Elites. Molly's running in the Nitro Elites. Dakota Lindworm's running in the Nitro Elites. Sarah Vaughan's running in the Nitro Elites. So like all their pro marathoners are running in the Nitro Elites, not the Fast R's. And so I don't think it's a marathoner shoe, and so that makes it a little bit less interesting to me because I like marathon shoes. It's also been impossible for me to get. But if it's on the website, maybe I'll try. I don't know. I also just don't like to buy shoes that I don't think I'm going to get. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. No one from Puma's like, hey, we can't wait for you to try this. You know? And they do say that about other shoes. So I'm like, okay, I get the hint. Those are my thoughts on the Fast-R. Michelle DeMaio says, if I join you all for a Kavusi Shaker run, I'll be in the back of the pack. Ouch, flashbacks of PE class. Michelle, I hear you, and I'm trying to be more aware of that. And for the last couple of runs, I've been trying to make sure that if I'm not the one that's making sure that everyone has at least one running buddy, I like try to make sure that like if it's a bigger group, I can usually get someone to volunteer. That's going to be running in that pace range anyway. So I'm trying to make sure that we have a little bit more predictability and organization when we do these. Not that I want the Cozy Run Clubs to be super organized. I like them kind of like the way they are. But like we need to make sure that everyone, if it's a shakeout run, everyone should get to run easy if they want to run easy. You know, so I'm trying to make sure that all paces are represented well. And so that people don't feel like they can come and hang out in the beginning and then like we'll have to wait for everyone to get back because they can't run together. I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to run together. Luke Klein says, I'm on an outsole hunt. I'm a bigger guy, 6'4", 200, and looking for a daily with more outsole. I would say for a taller guy, I think you're looking for kind of two things. I'm going to say I would kind of look at the Bondi or maybe the 1080. I think the 1080 Fresh Fill More, well, those will all be good options. Lots of rubber outsole. The Cumulus comes to mind from Asics, but like that one, if you're a taller, bigger guy, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough for you. Maybe the Nimbus instead, because has a little bit more cushion in it than the Cumulus does. But when I think of shoes with a lot of outsole, like why does this have so much rubber outsole? I think of the Cumulus and I think of the Velocity Nitro, and I think of like the Bondi. So like those are three shoes that I feel like just have like so much rubber outsole, and I can't understand why. But I think a lot of it's just to make sure it's an extra durable shoe, you know. Adam says that the 180 cadence number as ideal as BS. We have different natural efficient stride rates. Also different stride rates for different speeds. I am low 160s for easy, 170s for full, high 170s for 5K to 10K, and 200 for sprints. Yeah, I think that like people got really wrapped up in that number. And I just use that as kind of like an example of how like one number can be something to many people regardless of speeds. You know, I'm also in the 160s. I don't know about low 160s, but I think my numbers are pretty close to the ones that you're saying. I don't pay too close of attention to them. I think I'm more like, I don't have the turnover that you do, Adam. So like, I think for 5K, 10K, I'm at like maybe 185, 190. But for my marathon and half marathon, I'm closer to 170s. So that's like right where I am too. But even then, both you and I are different speeds at those cadences, you know, but those for us, those cadences correspond to certain efforts for each of us, even though I think we're about the same size, but like, even though we're different speeds, you know. Fat Ginger Runner says, I find myself having Achilles pain with a shoe drop of anything over 6 millimeters, yet none with less. Have you heard of this? I'm not sure if I've seen that like correlation, but a lot of times people will tell me that like they are very sensitive to heel drops. I think I'm the opposite. I feel like I can tell what the heel drop is in a shoe relatively close. I think I'm pretty good at guessing, but it doesn't bother me to switch from like a 0 drop shoe to a 10 millimeter drop shoe and then back. So I don't really have that problem. But for some people, like there used to be this very well believed line of reasoning, which I thought was nonsense. But people used to be like, oh, if you want to try an ultra 0 drop shoe and you run in Nikes, you're going to have to spend 3 months running in a Hoka first, something that's a 4 millimeter drop shoe. And then in another 3 months, you know, you'll be adjusting to your 0 drop shoes. Otherwise, you're going to rupture an Achilles. And I'd be like, what? That makes 0 sense. But like, and maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's kind of how people used to talk about heel drops. It's weird. I don't think people really talk about that. You know, Adam's being modest now. He goes, "You're faster than I am, Kofuzi. Maybe not much faster. I don't have great leg speed, but continue to work on it." Well, I think we both work on it. So we can agree to disagree on who's faster. We're each saying the other one is faster, but yeah. It was good to run with you when I was out there in Denver this summer. Hopefully we get to do that again. Oh, Lee Wilson says, what's going on, Lee? Says, what's your favorite marathon shoe of the year for speed and comfort? For me, that's Metaspeed Sky Plus. I had a really great time in it. I like how snappy that shoe is. I feel like I get good feedback. I think number 2 would probably be, I didn't run in the Adios Pro 3 that much, knowing that I was going to save it for my Boston build. So I don't really have too strong an opinion on the Adios Pro for this year, which I think is a disservice to Adidas in that, because I do think it's a really good shoe. But I've spent a lot of time in the Endorphin Pro as well, and I feel like that's probably number 2 in my mind. I have yet to try the Alpha Fly 2. I keep trying to get it, but once it hit the fall, they were just all sold out unless you're a size 6 or a size 13. So I couldn't even get any. And when I could, it was the orange one, and I'm like, I'm not buying that orange shoe. So the Alpha Fly may be a great shoe, but they changed it significantly from version 1. So I don't know. In a direction that I thought was not great. But I don't know. I'll see when I try that one. Hopefully it'll be early 2023 when I do get to try that one. But for me, I've been liking the Metaspeed Sky Plus. It is not, it's more speed oriented to me than comfort. The Endorphin Pro might be a little bit more comfortable of a shoe. The upper is certainly much better. But in terms of like speed, I like the Metaspeed Sky Plus. They're both very different shoes, but they're both 4-foot Strikers shoes, and they're both very good, I think. Jody says, I think the heel drop and changing slowly is really just a hangover from the minimalist shoe phase where people went from cushioned high stack shoes and got injured. That's a really good observation, Jody. I like that. Because I think there was a time where the only zero drop shoes you can get were minimalist shoes or like 5 fingers and stuff like that. So that's why maybe it took a lot longer to get used to the zero drop shoes, because the zero drop shoes were 4 millimeters in stack height. Maybe. Calvin says, it's hard to justify dropping $250 on a race shoe when the Vaporfly 2 is regularly on sale for $175 or even cheaper. Yeah, I think that Nike has done something very, very clever with the way that they treat that shoe. But something that I think I want to say Ed Bud agrees with me on this one. I'm not sure. Is that I think that the first 4% were a very different material than what was in the Flyknit 4%. Not that the Flyknit 4% were bad. I really love those shoes. But it was a little bit different of a foam. And I think that the current Next Percent foams are a little bit different than what was in the first Next Percents. And I don't think it's necessarily for the better. I think there's a little bit of a compromise that's happening. I mean, clearly pros are still doing really well in that shoe, and regular people are doing really well in that shoe too. So it's not a bad shoe, but it's an interesting thing where they've managed to now have enough Vaporfly 2 inventory where there's constantly one that's on sale. So it's kind of like an iPhone model. You got the iPhone Pro, the regular, and then the SE. And then you also have to think there's always last year's models that are also at a discount now. So it's I see what they're doing there. It's really clever. They've got something for every price point. But they've always got you on a premium level product. So it's pretty smart. Aldemina says, I know you said you were wrong on the Carbon X3, but I still like these for race day. PR 155.5 in November. Awesome, Al. That's really good. I'm glad that you like them. The thing is, I like the Carbon X3. I love the upper. I love a knit upper. I think I'm one of the last people that still loves a knit upper. Everyone seems to hate them. But I love a knit upper. I'm looking at the Carbon X3 right now. It's right over there in my pile of shoes that I've used. But I like that shoe. It just doesn't have doesn't suit my foot strike. You know what I mean? For people that like to roll, that's a great shoe. Same thing with the Metaspeed Edge. There's some shoes that roll really well. The Carbon X has always been a shoe that rolls. I don't roll. I'm not smooth like that. But I think it can be a good shoe for a lot of people. I guess it's not the shoe that I want it to be. And it's not trying to be that shoe. So it's not like it's executing poorly. It's just what I want and what it has to offer is different. It's not them, it's me. You know? But I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a good shoe. Just not for me. Scott Struhl says, which shoe from more than 5 years ago would you still run with? Let's see, what was that, 2017? That's going to be all like Nike shoes that I ran in like 2017. The Zoom Streak, I don't know what year I ran in that one. That might have been later than 5 years. But like the Zoom Streak didn't change very much from like maybe in the last 10 years, I don't think. I know it hasn't been around that many models, but like I don't think it's ever really changed that much. But the Zoom Streak is a shoe I'd still run in, especially about like a 5K, road 5K coming up, or like maybe even a road 10K. That's a good shoe. From 5 years ago, that would put us at peg 34. Yeah, I'd run in that. I don't know that I'd want the Vomero from back then. 5 years ago, there was also the Zoom Elite. The Zoom Elite. I never had a chance to run in that shoe, but I've heard really good things. So that's one that I would want to run in again. 5 years ago, Hoka wise, we were on the Clifton like 3 or 4. I don't want those. Let's see. Adidas, 5 years ago, Boston. What would that put us at? Boston 7. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that all day. So those are some ones I think that'd be fun. That'd be fun to run in now. Ooh, Lou says the Saucony Ride 8 or 7 from like 10 years ago. Yeah, you know what? I just retired my Saucony Ride 15s, even though I ran in them like twice. I'm just never going to run into this year. I don't know what Saucony did with the power run this year, but I didn't like it. It was so dense. So like, I don't know what they're going to do with the ride. The earliest ride that I ran in was Ride 10. So that was a good shoe. I like that shoe. It came in a Gore-Tex version. It was nice. Adam said he wore a 15-year-old New Balance 100. 100? There were 7.5 ounce trail racing flats for the cross-country race on Saturday. That was some messy conditions, though. I feel like the flats, I mean, yes, like Nike changed stuff with like their Dragonflies and everything, but like a lot of the flats, have they really changed all that much? I mean, I think they're putting more cushion in them, more foam. But like as far as like what makes a good flat a flat, I don't think that's really changed that much. Oh, Lucas is bringing up the Nike Lunar Racer. Oh, Lunar Lawn Flower. I love that. Yeah, those were pretty. I never ran in those, but they were very pretty. Shannon's here. She's a Psycho fam. You still in here? Yeah, we're just wrapping up, I think, Shannon. But we're getting there. Yeah. Eric says, vintage at 15 years old. I can't even remember the shoe names from pre-2008 when I was still running before a bad ankle sprain. Then pretty much nothing until early 2020. Yeah, I don't know any of the shoes I don't know the names of any of the shoes that I ran in for my first marathon in 2010. I think it was only 2 different shoes. They were both Mizunos. One was yellow and the other one was blue. If I remember correctly, like white and blue, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it was a black one. I don't know. But I have no idea what the names were. I don't know what I think the second one was a stability one, and it really messed my knee up. But, yeah. Oh, Frank says in 2017, people were still all about the Ultra Boost. Yeah. Ultra Boost 3.0, that was a good shoe. Were we on 3.0 back then? I think it was 3. I don't think it was on, like, the UBs yet. It was Ultra Boost, like they were calling it. They would just call it Ultra Boost, and they'd be like, is this 3.0? Is this 4.0? 2.5? It was weird. Eric says, yeah, it was probably a Mizuno Wave Rider or something like that. Yeah, so like, think about it. They're on Wave Rider 27 now, and so that would have been like 12 or 13 years ago. So it would have been like the Wave Rider, what, 14, 15? That would have been a long time ago. Oh man, nostalgia. I love the nostalgia. All right, I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Monday, I think we'll do a live stream Monday. I'll let you guys know. We're not sure when we're going to be traveling. So if I'm available, we'll do one on Monday. I'll let you guys know. I'll post I could do posts in both the Kofuzi Run Club channel and on the Kofuzi YouTube channel. So there'll be like a post, not like a video, but like a post. So I'll let you guys know as soon as I know what's going to happen. So you'll be able to find it there. All right. And the CIM race recap, it's really long. I'm not super thrilled about it. I feel like it was a little bit disjointed. Didn't have a lot of focus. But it's long. It's 30 minutes. So if you just want to hear me talk for half an hour, there you go. That's going to be a good one to fall asleep to. But I do think there's some fun nuggets in there. Some little, some interesting tidbits maybe. But you can go watch that now. And then I don't know if we'll have any more videos over the weekend. But hopefully I'll see you guys Monday in the next live stream. All right. In the meantime, be safe out there, everybody. Thanks.